All right. The next gentleman seeking recognition is Mr. Pence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to speak in opposition to the Kucinich resolution with the honest frustration that it seems that some in the minority on this committee don't want to take yes for an answer. I'll say again, Mr. Chairman, I truly believe, as your comments and to some extent the ranking member's comments have suggested, some in the minority won't take yes for an answer. Mr. Kucinich asked this resolution of inquiry, which is a parliamentary device used to get documents from the executive branch, for documents from the executive branch. The House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence is in the process of obtaining all related documents, which will be available to every member of Congress under appropriate security conditions. It is the proper function, Mr. Chairman, I believe, of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence to review intelligence, which is what this information is. So it seems quite oddly that some won't take yes for an answer. This is, to correct the record, the second administration in a row to take us to war against Iraq because it possessed weapons of mass destruction. Several on the other side have talked about this as something that was brand new, hadn't happened before. But obviously the regime of Saddam Hussein, recipients of cruise missiles in 1998, at the decision of President Clinton, who explained it because it was necessary to attack Iraq's chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons programs that, quote, threatened its neighbors. Certainly the regime of Saddam Hussein saw themselves a subject of an American military action in 1998, justified because the Clinton administration concluded, based upon intelligence assessments, that Iraq was in possession of weapons of mass destruction. So let me say also, this is the second American administration to take us to war against Iraq because it possessed weapons of mass destruction. I'm all in favor of this information being made available under appropriate security conditions to members of Congress, but let me say that, as Mr. Ackerman just shared, I would have strongly supported the decision to go to war based simply on what was in the public domain, based on an appalling and Stalin-like record on human rights, based on association with terrorist organizations across the region, testimony of which we heard here and was presented to the world community before the UN, and also overwhelming evidence of a multi-decades excursion into various weapons of mass destruction. Some have said today they wondered if the books were cooked. They said that it was either inaccurate or misused intelligence information. Well, speaking, Mr. Chairman, just about what's in the public domain, I don't get it. Every member of the United Nations Security Council in September voted in favor of UN Resolution 1441, which Secretary of State Powell said, sitting right there before this committee, the very first assertion of 1441 is that Iraq had possession of weapons of mass destruction. And we all scratch our heads, it seems, many in this Congress and in the national debate, over what happened to our intelligence assessments, suggesting that somehow our intelligence community was drawing different conclusions than the intelligence communities of every nation on the Security Council. I point again to a unanimous decision by the Security Council in UN Resolution 1441, premised on the conclusion by every member of that body, dare I say it, including France, including Germany, including Russia, that Iraq at that time, in the months immediately preceding Operation Iraqi Freedom, was in possession of a massive program of weapons and mass destruction. Certainly the people of Kurdistan, the people of Iran have cemeteries full of victims of Iraq's WMD program. And
Would the gentleman yield?
And I'll allow you to find your own time. And in 1991, Iraq admitted to 10,000 nerve gas warheads and 412 tons of chemical weapons in its disclosures to UNSCOM. So, you know, to believe that Iraq had no WMD program, Mr. Chairman. We have to believe the best of Saddam Hussein and the worst of George W. Bush. We have to believe that Saddam Hussein, after expelling weapons inspectors in 1998, privately and voluntarily destroyed his entire program of weapons and mass destruction and cleverly told no one in the civilized world about that.
The gentleman's time has expired.